Alright, so you can see from the time that I've been resting for a few minutes, and welcome back to Let's Play KRZ Part 13. I haven't really closed the game, and I think this chapter 4 is more sentimental than logical. that's what I comment. These tapes has sounds from my apartment building. Did you know that? Oh, I thought it was stock sound effects from the library. Yeah, the CDs are, but when it's on the tape, Daryl had me borrow a tape recorder from the music department and go collect them myself. You know this Daryl? It's like an artist who is doing some research on people's reactions to some nonsense they have. I think about my job. After the tape ended, how quickly did your thoughts return to that subject? I never really stopped thinking about it. I don't really get to the point of that question. I think it's just there to set a baseline for the introspection index. So all the doors opening and closing, those are all from your apartment? Most of them, yeah. Others were from the basement. We have these rows of storage closets down there. None of them are locked or anything. It's just like this weird row of doors. They're not even marked or differentiated. You have to keep count as you go and remember which one is yours. Mine's number 8. I went down there a little tipsy once. Sunday cleaning, a few glasses of wine. Anyway, I accidentally opened number 9 and it was full of mice. Like for a computer, I mean, they were all neatly arranged on shelves. Organized by some inscrutable quality. Cables tied with Velcro. The neighborhood mouse hoarder. A collector, I think. I guess he lived next door. I told Daryl we should add a question, something like, while listening to the tape recordings of doors opening, if at any point you have any expectation or visualization about what might be on the other side of one of these doors, please write them down. The number 9, I thought it might be a closet. I was just curious, I guess, since it was from my building, like I have strong sense of where these doors lead just by hearing them. But is that just from my memory, or is it inherent in the sound somewhere? Interesting, you should write a grand proposal. Oh, I wouldn't want to step on any toes, university politics. Oh, here's another extended monitoring tape from the waiting room. Busy night. There he is again, sleeping. Where do I know him from? That's going to drive me up the wall. Does he work at university? Oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I think he might have worked there a long time ago, maybe when I was an undergrad. Ah, the Paleolithic. I thought he looked a bit rugged. That's right, Jen. I went to college during the Stone Age. What was your major? Fire. I don't think he was a professor. Maybe stuff. Maybe staff? It's been so long. Sometimes I wish I just barreled through like you did, instead of taking time off before grad school. I'm sure it was the right thing to do at the time. Yeah, or the only thing. I was such a mess. Did I ever tell you about that? My boyfriend died suddenly in my last year of college. Oh, poor thing. It's okay. It was a long time ago, but yeah, it really shook me up back then. He was studying astronomy. We were both really into experimental music. He took a few art classes together. That's so sad. Sorry, never mind. No, it's okay. That's the thing, actually. I mean, that's what shook me up about it. It was just this random accident that never should have happened and so sudden. You never could have seen it coming. He was back home visiting his parents and he fell off a roof. Damn, I know what you mean. You can't predict what that kind of, what do you call it, freak accident kind of thing. My psychiatrists say that's why I'm such a pessimist. Well, I think you are remarkably upbeat, all things considered. I mean, that thing with your boyfriend and the roof, but also what happened to the TV station. Acts of God. You think? No, I mean that's what you call it. That's what you say when it's nobody's fault. Speaking of the TV station, you were saying something earlier about that other Marcus girl. Oh, right, I was talking about Weaver. Yeah, what exactly happened with her? You said she left on weird terms? Yes, well, so actually she just stopped showing up. That was pretty normal. It was all volunteers, right? Community television. Yeah, people didn't really give much advance notice. They just got bored and drifted away. It was more like an art project than a job for most people. Weaver Marcus helped manage the archives, like filling and sorting old tapes of broadcasts. I think she was pretty smart. She probably could have been more help fixing equipment or something, but she seemed content just to organize tapes. Nobody ever talked to her much, so when she left, no big deal. But then a couple months later, we started getting these bizarre interventions. Question. Please consider a particular moment earlier in the day or evening. Write down where you were, what you were doing, and what else was present. I was in my aunt and uncle's house with a friendly old man I just met. I fixed the TV set. I was in my shop alone. I saw a strange broadcast. My cousin was on TV. For the remainder of this test, we will refer to that moment as the episode. Someone would be doing a show in their normal time slot, and then suddenly the feed would cut. We'd still be broadcasting, but our signal was totally jammed. Oh, like interference? I'm in total blackout. Then this video would come on, clearly shot in our studio at some point, and it was her, Weaver Marcus. She'd be standing in the middle of the studio, facing the camera. It's a bit fuzzy in my memory, but I do remember the sound, this awful hum. Like that was how she did it. She made a hum so sinister, it drove our signal into hiding. Question. As you read the first marked passage, an excerpt is just a short part from Door Jam Design, Repair, and Cleaning by R. Rose. Please take note of any new details you recall from the episode, and at what point in the text they are recalled to you. When he described the dust that accumulates on the door jamb, it reminded me of the static on TV I was fixing. The author used a metaphor I hadn't heard before, cleaner than a stopped clock. I thought of how messy my shop was when I left it, and how I won't be able to clean it up now. Then there were these on-screen captions exactly the same every time. I don't remember what they said, something creepy. We had a title maker at the station, but it was a different font. I guess she recorded at WEVP and then took it somewhere else to add the captions. I don't know. We all did a lot of speculating about how she made a video. Why she made a video. Yeah, why not just broadcast it normally? It was community television, right? Couldn't be any worse than Naked Banjo Boy. Yeah, exactly. Some people thought it was a protest or something, but I know she didn't have anything against the station. To me, it felt kind of urgent, like she would have done her broadcast through the proper channels, but something came up, a crisis or something. Question. The second marked passage is a poem by Anne Shield called Three Views Through a Door. As you read this passage, please again write down any new details you recall from the episode. When I read the stanza about watching the rain through the doorway, I remember the sound of the strange broadcast. The hum took over everything, even the traffic and birds outside. When I read the stanza about walking through the door into the house, I remember seeing school desks in the broadcast. You know how I'm trying to like relate the response to what they're talking about just to make it more dramatic? How often did it happen? But maybe they're not listening to the response or looking at the response at all. Jane and Mimi, they're just into their own story. A lot, dozen of times. It went on for years. We even thought about asking the police to look into it, but it's so hard to locate a pirate signal. I mean, it could come from any direction, you know? It's all just waves. Exactly. Shannon is about to sleep. Question. The third marked passage is a reproduction of a scholar's guide to the etiquette of closed doors, a pamphlet published anonymously sometime in the 19th century. Again, blah. The text says something about how long to wait, not to wait too long at a closed door. I need to see this through. The text says something about hitting your knuckles on the right part of the door to maximize resonance throughout the house. It made me think about the weird acoustics down here. They make me feel strangely at home. Weaver's video showed up again right before the flood. Actually, I think it might have been the last thing we ever broadcast. So this part is just they can't read the date. I remember for a while when a calendar up that was like years behind. I think Daryl liked the picture. What was it? Best friends. Every month there was a different pair of animals that were friends. That's adorable. I think I'm going to be sick. You don't remember that? That weird intern brought it in from home? What was his name? Who? Oh, you remember. He was always like, we would make fun of him for. Damn, he's almost completely gone from my brain. So many interns coming and going then. I guess I didn't bother even remembering their names. I wonder who was working back when this was recorded. Is there a tape of the monitoring room? Yeah, here it is. Oh, before we check that out, did she flip the calendar forward or backward? Backward. Oh, weird. They usually flip it forward. So this part actually talks about Weaver and her work at broadcast station, community television, and about the flood. Something like that. Might be interesting. There she goes. Wait, do you think, did she follow them out? Oh well, here's the last extended monitoring tape from the dock when they left. See, told you he was one of those distillery guys. I guess you were right. These other guys came to pick him up for work, maybe? I don't like how they all hang out together. It's creepy. We hang out together and work together. Yeah, but it's not, they're like more than co-workers. I don't know. I just get this awful feeling whenever I see them. Like I knew them once, but not anymore. Like when they make up a dead person to look like an old photograph of themselves. Sort of familiar, sort of strange. Yeah, exactly. There ought to be a word for that. Bye, Kitty. They look like nice enough people. I'm sure she's very happy with them. Yeah, so this has been a bit of a memory trip for you, huh? I bet you didn't expect these old tapes to stir up so much. How does it feel for these people to come up again? Weaver Marcus and Weiss Will. And what was your boyfriend's name? The one who died in college. Charlie. Yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet experience, actually. Like looking at photographs of people who've died or moved away, people that are gone. So Charlie is Lisette's son, or I don't know, somebody related to that. So I think so. Yeah. So you know that they are all related together in some way. Gone but not forgotten. No, not forgotten. We still haven't finished this chapter. You know, maybe it's longer than chapter 3, which is the longest till now, so far. Look at those easels and tables on the beach over there. They call it an open-air gallery, or probably something more upscale like alfresco galleria. This is popular design in foreign cities like in Paris and New York. That may be true. The appeal is clear enough, I guess. Anyone can wander in and out. There aren't any walls or doors. There's no roof either, just a kind of thin cloth membrane. Not quite a sheet or a tarp, but more like a drape of rolled out spiderweb, looking like it might bunch up and dissolve if it never got rained on. If ever got rained on, sorry. No concern down here for rain. Everybody think they're inside just because they can't see the sky. But it's a microclimate down here, and it surely does rain. Right now, they're exhibiting some intimate photographs of small town life. The highlight of the show is a large print of an old man's face. The photo's titled Walker. His eyes are kind of closing, or maybe opening, probably closing. Because of the scale of the thing, you can see all the crumbs in his beard. No, not food crumbs. Crumbs from sleeping outside. Reviews have been good. It's a popular show, probably because of its relevance. The town depicted in these photos was very recently flattened to make the way for a big museum project. What's this? A forest. Ezra helped Kate forage for mushrooms. A groove. Oh, why is this so dark? No smoking within 20 feet. It's like, I don't know, it's two parts of the story. What's the relationship? And they're tasty like sweet moss. Would you like a bite? Sweet moss doesn't sound very tasty to me. Personally, I like to be able to tell where my food came from by flavor alone. My mushroom hunting. Small mushroom. See the greenish pallor of the cap? Amanita folioles. Well, let's look at this dark part. She lit a second cigarette with the embers of the first one. She trembled, sweating a little under a heavy coat. It was warmer near near the doors, but she was following directions. No smoking within 25 feet of hospital entrance. So she stood by a hot dog cart parked at the edge of the sidewalk. Can you eat it? Only once. It's deadly poisonous. Death cap. That's the common name. Even the Buddha died from eating a mushroom when he was very old. That's just what they do. Clear away old things, make room for new things. Would you like to help me look for a few more? I have a sort of shopping list. Just grab any mushrooms that catch your eye and throw them in this bag. Let me know when you're done and we'll see what have you got. Have fun. That's the second rule of mushroom hunting. The first rule is ask Kate before eating anything, okay? Kate digs in a bare patch of dirt. It's a bit muddy from flooding or the general dampness of the caves. So this is Kate and this is Ezra. The hot dog vendor tried to strike up a conversation with some immediately too personal questions. She decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he considered it part of his job, she thought, to offer his customers some kind of counsel. Maybe it was to solve his guilty conscience for selling junk food outside a hospital. The bottom of the cap is covered in tiny tooth-like protrusions. She spotted a couple of intriguing growths along the roots of the tree, a speckled white ball, and had she ever tried any alternative medicines? Acupuncture? Homeopathy? Ayurveda? Magical thinking? She said she'd never heard of any of those things. He fished a stray hot dog out of the pickle jar. Didn't find anything? That's okay. I just found this one. Kate takes a bundle of amber caps from her bag. These ones are really cool. See how they kind of glow a little? It's not enough to find your way in the park or anything, but still pretty amazing. But he liked to play in the woods behind the house. The woods were full of deer. His dad said the deer like best to live on the edges of forests. Recent development in the area had created lots of fresh edges, so they massed here and sometimes ran into the roads. He heard strange, gruff voices back in the direction of the house, and something that sounded like a choked sob or a sharp rebuke. He kept going. Ezra closes his eyes and listens to the water and the distant clicking of bats. He tripped on a protruding root and lay for a while in the mud, examining the pale upper branches of a sycamore tree, listening to the soft rumble of a faraway thunderstorm, and louder, then louder, closer, and his hair stood on end, and there was the bird. Anyway, I make a tea out of them, pretty good for headaches. Kate puts the mushrooms back into her bag. What do parents do for work? My dad used to sell windows. People were building a lot of new houses and they need lots of windows. But then they stopped building houses. My mom worked at a bakery and bar. Sometimes she would see the same people in the morning and evening. The bakery closed and she doesn't work at the bar anymore, but she still goes there a lot to see her friends. Do you have a family? I left home when I was very young, not much older than you actually. I bounced around jobs and shelters and finally find my way down to the Echo River. Never looked back. I've basically been on my own since then. Well, that's not really true. Just about everyone who sets foot aboard the Mucky Mammoth feel like family to me now. I guess if nobody's family, then everybody's family. Haha. these are the only trees in this whole cave. Who planted them here? Right, not many trees down here in the dark. Months later, she came across a book on homeopathic medicine in a used bookstore and bought it. She thought it was mostly bullshit, but found the author's notes on the unpredictability of mushrooms immediately compelling, spiritual even. She started collecting mushrooms on hikes, never eating them, just collecting, identifying, and discarding. Eventually, she connected with Lexington Mycological Society and began to study in earnest the medical use of fungi. I know these are some kind of cypress, and they were definitely planted here deliberately, by someone who I guess I don't know much about this place really. It's supposed to be some kind of memorial to something. Will know more. Will would know more. Sorry, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. Ozzy. She put out her cigarette, said goodbye to the hot dog vendor, and spent the rest of the afternoon listening to doctors and trying to understand the world as they did, as a list of discrete injuries to be mended. Alright, what have you got? Somebody carved Ozzy in that tree over there. Oh, what do you think that means? It's part of somebody's name, or it's short for something. Observe 0 yaks. Old zebra yard. Ornery zoologist yacht. I don't know what that means. Yeah, it was a stretch. There's a pole in the ground over there. It's all scratched up. Oh yeah, I bet people tie their boats there. Maybe somebody who takes care of the trees. Could be. Or other travelers and mushroom hunters like us. Well, Ezra, I can't say I know what that all adds up to. Like I said, I wish Will were here. He'd have some local history for us. We can ask him back on the boat. Kate and Ezra look up at an old battleship drifting by. Oh, there it is, the Iron Paria. Don't worry, it's just passing by. I don't know much about it firsthand, but I've heard things. I've heard it was in the Civil War. Supposedly there's nobody even aboard, no people, I mean. There must be something out there. Life is everywhere. Rats, insects, some kind of hardy mole. Ezra's parents shook him awake. They seemed alarmed, but not immediately concerned. They led him back to the house, past the house, into the car. Dad said they were going to stay at the bus station for a while, the one with a little arcade with a card game he liked. Dad watched him closely in the rearview mirror, expecting Ezra to be excited or confused or scared, but he didn't feel anything. He hardly seemed to hear. In fact, he felt like he was observing the family car from a distance, from far above, from the clouds. So this part is finished. Part of it could be flooded and host to some of the eyeless fish that live in the echo. Hey, maybe there are some mushrooms glowing in there, slowly consuming the military rations from over 100 years ago. Someone told me she got close to it by accident and heard a strange rattling sound. Well, this is another choice that was as before, so maybe I have to choose all of them. She was a passenger on the Mammoth. She said she'd been out fishing on a rowboat and got swept up by a current near the cluttered place. Before she knew it, the Iron Paria was upon her, unimaginably massive, up close, but eerily silent. The only sounds, she said, were the lapping of the lake water against its iron hull, and a faint sort of, well, she said a chorus of mews. I'll be damned if I know what that sounds like, haha. I've never gotten close enough to the ship myself. More mystery. They do pile up, over time, as people forget the details. Thanks for taking me mushroom picking. Mushroom hunting. You can pick apples because they're right there in the open. Mushrooms hide. You have to hunt for them. Okay, so I think it's time we call this a part, and thanks you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.